right, good afternoon, folks. This is Faris with Trade with Tex, and today we're going to be doing another chart prep video for the upcoming week. So basically, going over some momentum plays. Whether you're a swing trader or day trader, these apply to multiple time frames. That should be able to help you make some money. Okay, just some solid chart setups. Now, we are going to start it off with the S&P in a second, but I wanted to mention that if you are not subscribed to the channel, we got a ton of educational videos that you should check out. If you like this video, obviously like the video itself, and feel free to subscribe. But on top of that, if you're not a member in the Trade with Tex chat, that's okay, right? Not everybody has 50 bucks a month to put towards that, but we do offer a free week where you get the audio, screen share, recent webinars, all that good stuff. Okay, so that's tradewithtex.com if you want to check it out. All right, either way, we're going to get into the list here. We're going to start it off a little bit slower with the S&P and then move into the higher momentum names towards the end of the video. Okay, we're also going to go over earnings very briefly because obviously we're still in, kind of the peak of the earnings season. A lot of different momentum movers are going to be reporting this week. Okay, now for the S&P, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because it's a pretty low volume move up overall. This is, kind of standard for summer movement where we're not expecting fireworks, but a couple of things to note. We are a little bit more overextended off the moving averages than I'd like to see the S&P. That makes me a little bit cautious in terms of risk to reward, not in terms of calling a top, okay? But basically, what we have for the upcoming week are some pretty simple targets. If you know how to draw your Fibonacci retracements and extensions, which we go over in a couple of other videos on the channel, some of which we've talked about recently, I'll link one of the videos in this as well. But if you know how to draw them, you know what the next target is. We got 44.75 overhead. All right, and some change. Above that, it's 44.82. And I'm not going to zoom out all the way. I'm just going to write it out. And then it's actually in the low 4500s, the big target being 45.15. Okay, which is very far away. And actually, let me make a little bit of room here to write that out. 44.82, 45.15. So if the trend continues, those are the overhead targets. All right, just so that you guys are fully prepped up. I really want to focus on the levels below, though, not as short targets, but just to kind of help you make money on these moves. Because the way that you play a steady trend is not how you would think, right? Just buy and hold. Because as you can see on these candles, see how there's a common denominator here? We have the bigger lower shadow on every candle. That shows dip buying pressure, but that shows a dip. So there are a lot of opportunities to get shaken out on this move up. The way that you should be playing it, in my opinion, and the way that we're handling it in the chat room, is we're actually going to zoom this into the hourly time frame, right? Or 60-minute, whatever the hell you want to call it, and show you guys where the support zones are at, right, for potential dip buys. Now, when the move gets a little bit choppier, like what we saw on Friday, very choppy day on Friday, see how the 20 EMA acted as support? What I'm mainly focused on is whether or not this 50 hourly SMA, the green line, acts as support, because that's been a good dip buy zone lately. Right, that happened on last Thursday, as you can see here. And then that happened on last Tuesday as well. You can't see it. I have to roll it back and whatnot. But it's been a frequently occurring pattern where we dip back to that hourly moving average and find support there. So what that means is for the upcoming week, we have our targets overhead. We know what those are, right? Already put them out there. The support is going to be this line here. We have a couple of fibs on the way down, but because we bounced off of that 50 hourly last time, which was coinciding with a couple of key levels, that's going to be the next big support zone. Okay, in the 44.30s. So 50 hourly SMA, 44.33.25 being the higher of those levels. That's where the support zone starts. And it's only a couple of points, right? It's down here. That's going to be the next big support zone. Okay, so support a little bit further away. That also gives you some good risk to reward if you're more patient, right? It's more rewarding. And then the targets are actually relatively close. We got another 12 points above this week's high, and then another 7 points after that. Okay, 44.75, and then 44.82. All right. So that kind of sums it up for the S&P. I want to get into the momentum names since those are more exciting. Those are going to result in bigger gains anyways. And believe it or not, we're going to start it off with a ticker that is not really known for momentum. Pfizer, PFE, which I'll tell you guys right now, if you're in the chat room, you know how much money we've made on this ticker lately. I'm not the kind of person to sit here and say, oh my God, we've banked so big. But last couple of trades, especially with options, have been 500%, 650%, 310%, 300%, right? Those are all of the most recent trades we've taken on Pfizer lately, and it's still going. So point being here, just keep milking it, right? As long as this thing keeps trending, no reason to stop trading that trend. Now, for PFE, I don't want to politicize this at all. I don't want to get into, oh, Moderna shouldn't be trading at that valuation. Why should Pfizer be up here? None of that, right? We're just focused on the chart. And vaccine names overall are pretty strong, right? Especially with this most recent run-up, the fact that Pfizer is able to flag and then actually break out of that again on a choppy market day, that's pretty incredible, okay? So a couple of notes here. One, if you don't like PFE, look at NVAX. That's another play that's a little bit less appealing, but still a really good mover and another strong daily chart as well. Okay, we're not gonna go over it, but just an alternative here. Number two, this is a pretty extended chart in the sense that, just like what we were talking about the S&P, we're really far off the moving averages. However, that means it should be a faster 1 to 2 day move. So the expectation here for Pfizer is that Monday, Tuesday are going to be strong, and then we'll leave it alone after that. All right, we'll reevaluate. So basically on Friday, we had another breakout. It doesn't have to be to a new high, right? This is a common misconception that you can only buy a stock when it's putting in a new high. That's actually a horrible way to trade. However, what's significant here is that we had an inside day, another inside day, and we broke above that high. So we've already gotten the inside up rotation, right? Which is a little bit fancier, but some of you might be familiar with that candlestick formation. We've already gotten that. That's the continuation pattern. And now it's just a matter of hitting the targets, right? Because we played this flag break. That was a double inside up. This was not an inside up, but another flag break, right? And then here is number 3 within just a few weeks. Okay, so PFE signaling the next leg up. The targets overhead, we're going to use 49.2. This is actually the only thing I don't like about this chart, is that the targets are pretty close by. 49.59 and 50. $50 even for the overhead targets. Okay, the only other thing to note here is that these are all-time highs. So if you're looking for more historical levels, you're looking in the wrong place. You should just be using pivot points and fibs for the next overhead targets. And again, this is the same method that I'm using to get targets that I highlighted for the S&P. Same exact technicals. Okay, so PFE, what we really want to see it hold is 47.32. That's the previous all-time high right here. See how we kind of had trouble holding it there and there again, right? You have to look really closely, but you can see that. We've broken that. We want to stay above that. Okay, as long as that holds, these are the 3 targets overhead. All right, now, next ticker, believe it or not, we're getting a little bit crazy here. We're about to talk about earnings in a second, but I wanted to point out that Bitcoin is already breaking out of that bull flag, right? If you are in the chat room, we've talked about this already. If you're not, I'll go over it. Basically, Bitcoin had this aggressive move above some very key levels, right, including 40K. Reclaimed that, failed, right, and then came back and put in a higher swing low. The reason why this Bitcoin breakout is not surprising me right now, this one that we're getting as of this weekend, is because when we form a higher swing low off of a lower length moving average, right, the 8 length exponential moving average, that signals a stronger trend. And normally that 8 EMA is going to act as support more than once. That's why for day trading, we use that so much, right? So this is the daily time frame. So we're not talking about day trades here, but clearly higher swing low off the 8 EMA. And wouldn't you look at that, higher swing low off the 8 EMA launching us into the next leg. All right, you can see those technicals already playing out. Now, the reason why we're talking about this, because you might be sitting there going, oh, I don't trade crypto, or blockchain tickers aren't my favorite. The reason we're talking about this is because this should spark a group move, right? Where MicroStrategy, Riot Blockchain, a bunch of others should be able to move up on Monday as sympathy plays. It's mainly whether or not they can hold those gaps. That's going to be the tough part. Now, Bitcoin additionally hasn't hit our targets. Our targets here are 48,557 and 990. Okay, so basically we still got another 1,000 points to go on Bitcoin. Whether you trade crypto or whether you trade one of the sympathy movers, again, I'll list a couple: MSTR, BITF, Riot, etc., etc. Regardless of what you trade, that still has some potential upside. Okay, so Bitcoin, looking for it to hit that target area this week. It's not that far off. Keep in mind, just like PFE, this is a high momentum move. So again, should be 1 to 2 days, and then it should exhaust. Okay, this is a really important concept to understand for these videos, is that we're not making the video for Monday through Friday. It's for whatever is going to give us opportunity early in the week. Okay, so don't hold all of these movers until Friday. Make your money, get out, and then we can always revisit. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the earnings movers, because again, Bitcoin, one of the ways you can make money. Also, I meant to say this, GBTC is the fund ticker that a lot of people go to if they can't trade Bitcoin, right? So that's a nice mover that'll move along with it for anybody who doesn't have the ability to trade crypto or futures. Okay, now let's take a look at earnings real quick, and we'll breeze through the last two tickers. Basically for earnings this week, I screen grabbed the calendar here. The only one that's left off this calendar is Robinhood, which I believe reports on Wednesday, right? So right here. I think it's after the bell on Wednesday, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Either way, this is a pretty good list of momentum movers for this week. And basically, I've outlined our favorites in green, and then the stocks that are typically just going to give us range in blue to make some money. So already start of the week, you can see that we have Roblox, one of the bigger growth names that has high expectations. This is one of the tickers we're about to talk about, but I wanted to point out the big themes this week. China stocks, semiconductors like NVIDIA, applied materials, etc., etc. And then I believe it is, retail names like Macy's, Kohl's, etc. We even have the bigger retail names, Walmart, Target. Those are all reporting this week as well. Just wanted to point that out because if you're holding a stock within those industries, that's going to be pretty significant, right? That easily could weigh on them. Again, some of the momentum plays I'm looking at right off the bat: Roblox, NVIDIA. Obviously, this one you can play AMD or another ticker. You don't need to play NVIDIA. And then kind of one of the more low-key ones, BJ's. Really good earnings history as well. The ticker's BJ. Okay. Now, let's talk about Roblox a little bit because that's going to be the main focus early in the week. Roblox expectations are crazy high. And you guys got to also understand that this stock has performed well since the last earnings report. Okay. Now, Roblox is on this watch list that we call the strong earnings mover watch list. Basically, if a stock breaks out after a really strong report, we prioritize it a little bit higher. In this case, it broke out, it held, and then it eventually went on this crazy run up. So it's actually still holding a good chunk of those gains, if you think about it. This is where we closed out the previous earnings report. This is where we're at now. So I don't think it's one of those plays that is guaranteed to go up, but it is guaranteed to give us some volume and range. Okay. Now, what I'm looking for, earnings are Monday after the bell. I'm actually looking for a break of this level right here, 84.86, big historical level on this stock. For a run to 87.30 before the earnings. And I'm not looking for anything other than that. Obviously, the key zones on this chart are here. Let me put them in yellow, just so that there's no misinterpretation. See, these are the light blue fibs. Those are both significant fibs. We do have a smaller one right here, but based off the recent range, we keep bouncing off of this, 77. I think that's a 9. Hold on, can't see it. Oh, sorry, 07. So 77.07 and then 87.30. Those are the big levels. The only other thing to take into account is that this is a pre-earnings move and options are going to be pretty expensive, so you might want to go common stock. Okay? But the game plan for me this upcoming week is I'm looking for a move through resistance to spark the buying pressure up to 87.30 on Monday. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to wait until after earnings to trade it. Okay. And again, expecting some really strong growth numbers. Let's see if they can keep impressing. All right. Long-term hold of mine too. Now, speaking of earnings, we're actually not going to talk about any more earnings movers. We're going to wrap it up with one more ticker here. And believe it or not, it's going to be Airbnb. Big point that I want to make here, growth names that are also IPOs, like even somewhat recent, are doing really well lately. And Airbnb, I know this chart looks really hectic, but I'm going to break it down for you in a simpler manner in a second. Just wanted to note that if you don't like Airbnb, like if you don't like the stock or you don't like trading it, something's off about it, I highly recommend looking at Dash or Snow. And this is just like the vaccine stocks where I offered NVAX as an alternative to PFE. Don't watch all of them. Just pick one from the group that you are more comfortable with, because it's not about what's fun. It's about what's going to make you money, right? What you're best at trading. Play to your strengths a little bit, okay? Now, Dash and Snow are also in play, but Airbnb, I wanted to point out, very strong close, right, at the highs after earnings that really were solid, but initially were disrespected a little bit. We bought the dip right here. You can't really see it because it was after hours. And we rode that dip all the way to the 150s on Friday. We even played some call options after that. So we bought the dip after hours on earnings, Thursday after the close. And then Friday, it ended up closing at the highs. Now, the reason why we're talking about this chart is actually the weekly time frame. Not to switch it up on you too much, but see the supply and demand here. See how this has historically been a big supply zone, right? Basically, the way that we're looking at this is the highest closing price since this big dump, right, on the weekly. And that closing price was 152.52. Now, look how ridiculous this is. Look at the closing price on Friday, 152.76. So these slight indications, right, that supply and demand are actually shifting are going to be able to make us some money here. So Airbnb, this is a pretty bold assumption, but it is signaling a move higher. Specifically, it's signaling a move back above that high, right, which is currently at 154.8. Okay, next target after that is 156 and then 159.10. All right, and the rule here is basically that Airbnb has to hold above 152.7. All right, I zoomed it in, got that historical level from this candle as well. It's basically the higher of the two resistance levels, right? 152.5, 152.7, that's the higher level. So simple game plan here for some continued strength. Really strong earnings, just want to see a little bit more strength so that we don't just get stuck within last week's range, right? It's the worst thing ever when you're expecting a big move up and then we just go sideways. I think that's actually worse than moving down, because at least for down, you cut it loose and you can focus your energy somewhere else, okay? But in this case, we're looking for up over 152.7. Let me show you what that looks like. This is just the 15-minute chart, right, to show you some of the intraday action from Friday. So this is the Friday move. And we're just looking for a base above this 152.7. Real simple. Then we'll knock out target 1, 2, and 3. Should be that move. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, and 3 is up here. All right. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So I wanted to kind of glaze over the earnings. There are a couple of other appealing plays like DraftKings, a couple of bios that are oversold from Friday. But for the most part, that's what I'm looking at. And remember, guys, size matters here. A lot of these tickers have really different risk to reward. From my opinion, right from where I'm standing, Airbnb and Roblox have slightly better risk to reward. Bitcoin and Pfizer, not so much, but they're stronger. Okay? So those are the tickers I'm mainly looking at. Last note here, commodities are really, really great right now for day trading and swing trading. Whether or not you trade them, natural gas and oil are both showing some weakness on their daily time frames. Gold is given a lot of range for day trades. Okay, so these two are shifting downward. Gold is just giving some good range. All right, that's the only other note that I wanted to make, and that's mainly for the more experienced traders. All right, either way, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to get back to enjoying the weekend, and hopefully this can make you some money. If you want, jump in for the free trial at Trade with Tex. That's tradewithtex.com/sign-up. Okay, simple as that. And we'll see you on Monday. All right, good luck this week, folks. Have a good one.